Hello, welcome to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, also stream on Expert CRE Secrets podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a tax deferral strategy to help you defer hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars in capital gains tax, such as the deferred sales trust, eliminate the need for the 1031 exchange, is an amazing way for you to create and preserve more wealth. Or help your clients, friends, and family do the same. For those who don't know me, hi, my name is Brett Swartz, and I'm founder of Capital Gains Tax Solutions. In each episode, I'm joined by some of the best real estate, financial, business minds in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. So together we make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. I'm excited about our next guest. He's originally from New York, but he is typically traveling to places that perhaps we've never been to before and doing it full time, which is really, really cool. He's going to share his story with us, as well as talk about how to build a bootstrap startup as a nomad. Please welcome to the show with me, Adam Rosen. Adam, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Brett. I appreciate you having me on.
Hey, for our listeners getting to know you for the first time, would you give us a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Yeah, so I never had a true 9-to-5 type of job. I went to school just outside of Boston, built my first tech startup there, had it for about 5 years, sold it in 19, and not some glamorous, sexy exit that we all dream of when we start a business, but it was an acquisition nonetheless. I spent all 5 years pretty much bunkered down in my office in Boston, very rarely left or traveled. So when I sold the company, I moved out to Hawaii. I started to play around with some different things, including real estate. And then a little bit over a year and a half ago now, I started my current company, which is around setting up sales appointments for startups. And as you mentioned there, Brett, I do it from all around the world, kind of bopping from place to place every 2 to 3 months.
Amazing. And by the way, you can learn more about Adam Rosen by going to eocworks.com. That's eocworks.com. You know, Adam, I believe we've all been given certain gifts in this life, and these gifts have been given us to be a blessing, help to others. So I want to go back to your New York days growing up as a youngster. I'm curious, what are the 1 or 2 strengths or gifts that you believe you were given, and how does that help how you help and bless people today?
For me, probably the biggest gift I would say that I've had from the start is my parents always taught me to not make excuses. And if you lose, don't cry about it, learn from it, and become better from it. So that's a big thing for me. Is it's helped me not just lose well, but more importantly, learn from my losses, because we're all going to face that. As we all know, we all have wins, we all have highs, but it's really the losses that help build us. So that's the big thing for me. One of my favorite quotes is from George Washington: perseverance and spirit have done wonders in all ages. So it's something that I do my best to try to live by every day. So I'd say that's probably the biggest thing, is my grit to just keep going even when I do have a loss.
Excellent. Fighting through the mentality to give up and to persevere, even when things don't go your way. Is that a fair summary?
I try my best to do that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Where to go? Let's dive right into that at the topic at hand, building a bootstrap startup as a nomad. So Adam, what is the number one secret to building a bootstrapped startup as a nomad?
I wouldn't say it's one thing, but the stuff that I always focus on is around building a business that's profitable and repeatable. Now, part of building a profitable and repeatable business is you got to get to product market fit. You got to build something, of course, that people not only want to buy once, but see value in to continue buying over and over and over again. And then once you do that, you have to learn how to build the systems so that either you can execute it more efficiently, or that, like what we do, is we have team members that are able to execute on those systems, so that my co-founder and I can spend less time in the weeds of the day-to-day and more time spent focusing on the big picture and the big opportunity. But as a nomad, it's so important, especially when my co-founder and I are apart, and I've never even met any of my employees in real life, in person, I should say. So it's so important that you can build out incredibly strong systems that are plug and play, that people can be held accountable for and execute on.
Okay, I got it. I think I got it. So it sounds like the number one secret to building a bootstrap startup as a nomad, the first secret at least, is making sure that it's a profitable business and that it's repeatable. And it sounds like the repeatable part of it means hiring team members that can execute on these repeatable processes. Is that a fair summary, Adam?
Well done. Correct.
Excellent. Great. What's this number 2 secret to building a bootstrap startup as a nomad?
Trust and communication and holding accountable. So I put that all kind of in one bucket right there. So trust, that's for my co-founder and I specifically. I have to trust that he's executing, and he has to trust that I'm executing when we're not together. Because sometimes when you're away from your business partners, your employees, you don't know what they're necessarily working on all day, every day. So that trust is so important. My co-founder and I, we've been working together now for the better part of 9-10 years. So we've been able to build that trust. But then you also have to have the trust in your employees that they're executing. But a big piece of that is you have to have the systems in place to hold them accountable and know when they are executing and know when they're not executing, and act swiftly, where if they're not executing, either you make a change, you fire them, you find somebody else, or you help coach them to make sure that they're able to execute in the future.
Okay, this is really good. I think this is going to be a good one here. So it's trust, communication, and holding accountable. But it sounds like you're really holding yourself accountable as the leader to build the systems and processes in place, and to make sure you know when the system is executing and when it's not. So it's really holding yourself accountable, or am I way off?
No, you're spot on. And that's the key thing. I've always said, whenever an employee has failed, it's my fault. It's my fault as a leader because I didn't do a good enough job of creating the systems to make it so that either they can't fail, or I should have been able to see that they weren't doing a good enough job sooner, so I could have acted sooner to let them go and find somebody else that's a better fit. So absolutely, as the leader, if our employees, our team are not executing, that falls on us.
Okay, so let's dive into that. Let's get a sample of that, right? Maybe what's the number one way you've seen this drop by entrepreneurs, business owners, real estate owners, right, that have team members, maybe virtual assistants, that they're wanting to encourage, hold accountable, but they don't have the systems and processes in place. So give us like a live case study where you've helped entrepreneurs do this.
You have to list out especially if you're outsourcing, and especially if you're outsourcing outside the country, but really for anybody, if you have employees and they're not sitting in the office right next to you, we have to create bulletproof systems. So what I do when I work with entrepreneurs, or what I do with myself, is doing the process for myself, or encouraging the entrepreneur, write down every single step in this process. And then even, I don't care how minute, how small, how tedious it seems, you have to write down every single step, and then have a little checkbox next to it. And then make it so that your employee, when they do that task, they need to check that box off, check that next box off. Because this way you make it so that if they do make a mistake, it's just because they're not being conscientious and they're not following through. But you have to be so disciplined to write down every single step in the process to make it almost impossible for them to fail. And if they do fail, it's because they're just not the right fit, and you got to move on.
Okay, so that seems pretty simple, right? So you're gonna break down every single minute step in the process of what you're already doing, and then you're gonna create that list, and then you're gonna put a checkbox next to it, and then you're gonna make sure you're training, you're coaching your team member to do these things, but more so you're training them to check the box. And if something's been missed, it's very clear that they didn't follow the steps. Is that a fair summary?
Yes, we have to list out every little detail. Now, once they start working with you and they get the process, do they have to check off every box? No, of course not. I don't want to micromanage anybody like that, but we need to make it so it's impossible for them to fail, and make it so that there's no excuse for them to fail. So that's why even with this company, the first 9+ months, we had 3 beta customers. And for the better part of that, I was manually responding to every single email and every single inbox. And it was brutal. It was not fun. It was not what any of us want to be doing, but it was so that now I never have to respond to anything, because the systems are built because I knew how to do it myself. And then I was able to do the tough work of building out the system and listing out all the steps so that my team can do it on their own.
Okay, excellent. So we covered the first 2 here, right? Which is, make sure you have a business that's profitable and repeatable. Number 2, and then you're hiring out team members to help build those systems, or to execute on those systems. And that leads to number 2. You have the trust, the communication, and holding people accountable, creating out lists, bulletproof systems, check boxes. Got it. Adam, what's the number 3 secret to building a bootstrap startup as a nomad?
and this probably should be number one, but really we need to look within ourselves and say, can we be people that can execute and build a business and do it responsibly and take care of our clients and take care of our employees and do the work when you're traveling in, let's, at least using places I've been, when you're in Italy or you're in the south of France or you're in Cyprus or Tel Aviv or Hawaii or wherever. Like, can we look within ourselves and say, I have the type of personality that can say no to distractions? Doesn't mean you can't enjoy these places that you go. I enjoy it as much as I possibly can and want to soak it in as much as possible. But I also know I need to execute, I need to do the work. So really, this should probably be number one, but looking within yourself and saying, am I someone that can live out of a suitcase? Am I somebody that can adapt and go to these new places? Am I somebody that can, while being in these exciting places with a ton of temptation, still make sure that I'm being responsible to the work and treating the work in the highest magnitude as we should? And am I the type of person as well that is okay with taking a long flight and then maybe getting on a phone call the next day when I'm jet lagged, or maybe time zones are tough, so I got to wake up a little bit earlier to take a call or stay up a little later to do a call? So really, number three, which again should be number one, is saying, are we the type of people, am I the type of person that wants to be a digital nomad? Because it's not for everybody.
Oh, yeah, got it. So that's looking at ourselves, and it sounds like, can you persevere and really just change an identity from being, flexible, adjustable in different places at different times, and really focused, right, beyond just the physical circumstance and the time zones. Am I way off, Adam?
No, you're spot on, because also people are going to judge you when you are living this lifestyle. They're almost gonna want you to fail in some ways, because a lot of people say, I want to be traveling and doing all that stuff. When it comes down to it, a lot of us, and I enjoy it too, I don't want my whole life to be spent bopping from place to place. I want to have my home base at some point, but it's something that some people look at and say, you can't do this. So they might even hold you to a higher standard because you're living that type of lifestyle. So it's really important that we are disciplined to, again, treat the work in the highest magnitude that we can.
Fantastic. Let's dive into eocworks.com and how it is that you help your customers, your clients, your friends, everybody. Dive into what is it, what specifically do you help entrepreneurs and people to do?
Yeah, really straightforward is every company needs more top of the funnel. I don't care if you're a teeny tiny startup or a large Fortune 50 company, everybody needs more top of the funnel. Everybody needs more opportunities. And a great way to get more top of the funnel is through cold email, if you know what you're doing. Now, most emails we just ignore. On average, we get 121 emails a day. We ignore 111 of them. So you have to be able to do it right. And that's something that my co-founder and I, that's how we built our tech startup. We got the biggest brands in the world, B of A, Amazon, Apple, all through cold email. We got on the phone with Ajay Banga, this former CEO of MasterCard, through cold email. That led to MasterCard becoming a client. So cold email can be a great tool if you can do it effectively. So what we do is we're kind of like an outsourced SDR or BDR for these companies, where we do everything from writing the emails, writing the follow-ups, managing the inbox, booking the meetings on our customers' calendars, and then they can do what they do best, which is share their value of what they offer and hopefully get new business from it. But we're booking sales appointments for startups through cold email.
Really cool and fascinating, Adam. So it sounds like you guys are booking sales appointments through cold email, which is something I have not heard about before. I'm sure you hear this every day, right? Because there's cold call, but how many people are just so tired of that robocaller or that whatever caller or whatever, just calling to interrupt you? At least in the email, you've logged in and you've had a chance to view it. So what's the number one biggest, false belief for cold email that you want to tell everybody right now?
That it doesn't work. And like I shared, it usually doesn't work. So they're not totally off, but that's if you don't know what you're doing. If you don't know how to write an email properly, if you don't know how to follow up properly, if you don't know how to create the systems and automation to do it effectively, if you don't know if you don't know who your buyer is or how to resonate with your buyers through email, yes, it won't work for you. But if you know what you're doing, it can be a huge asset to any company. Brett, even how me and you got connected was through a cold email. How we got on calls again with the MasterCard CEO through cold email. We booked appointments for one of our startups last month, all through cold email. So if you know what you're doing, it can be a huge asset. But because there's so much crap out there, which there is, most cold emails we get suck. They're not personal. They're too long. They're not targeted. All this stuff, and it gives that cold email a bad rap, bad reputation. But if you know what you're doing, it can be a huge asset. So that would be the number one biggest, I'd say, misconception around emails, that it doesn't work. Because if you do it effectively, it can be a huge asset for any startup.
I absolutely love it, Adam. And you can learn more about these cold email by going to Adam's website, eocworks.com. That's eocworks.com. So I'm curious, Adam, was that really you, or is that one of your virtual assistant team members that emailed me?
With the podcast stuff, that was me.
Okay, good. I feel better. I feel like it was, I didn't, even if it was someone else, like that's cool. Okay, cool. So that is really neat.
And on that, Brett, sorry to cut you off, but that is the thing. A cold email doesn't need to be like a cold email is just, we never knew each other. And then I emailed you cold, we didn't know each other, but I emailed you out of the blue. And then we were able to connect. Like, I remember my first hint to cold email was when I cold emailed Mark Cuban. Back when I was in college, I was running an entrepreneur accelerator program, and I wanted him to speak at my event. And I cold emailed him, and he responded in a very nice way. He said, "Hey, I'm swamped, so I can't, but thank you for reaching out." And that's when I was like, wow, we could really get to anybody we want through cold email. And then, of course, you could do more mass outreach, which is different, of course, than how me and you got connected, Brett, which, yes, more systems and automation and team members are involved in booking that. But no, cold email is just, hey, I don't know you, but I'm reaching out to you out of the blue, and with to try to get connected in some way.
Okay. By the way, any tips for that, or what does it even look like with working with you guys? Like, do you guys have the team professionals or team members already trained, and you say, let's understand your goals, let's understand who your client is, your avatar, and then here's our dream 100, Adam, right? Here's my dream 100, and cold email and set appointments, go. I mean, walk us through what that looks like if we were to hire you.
Yeah, from our client side, it's really straightforward and simple. We have an hour call where we learn more about your business and who you want us to reach out to. And then we do everything from there. So we write the copy, we get new domains and warm up those inboxes that you don't go into spam. We get the list. We have an in-house team that's always building out lists for us. And then we do the outreach, and it's pretty straightforward. We take care of everything. And then when someone says, yeah, Brett, I want to talk to you, we book the meeting on your calendar, we forward you the email thread, and then you have the call. And it's as simple as that.
This is very cool. Adam Rosen, eocworks.com, eocworks.com. Check them out. Adam, are you ready for the lightning round?
Let's do it.
All right. Knowing what you know now, Adam Rosen, if you could go back to your, let's make it your 18-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget you make sure to tell yourself to do?
Become my most authentic self as quickly as possible.
What does that mean to you?
I know growing up, like, it's for all of us, you have a tough time of finding who you really are, and you try to pretend to be someone maybe you're not to get people to like you. And I think we're probably all guilty of it, but I know I was guilty of it. So for me, it's just do what I want to do, speak the way I want to speak, be around people that I want to be around, do the things that I enjoy, not feel like I need to be somebody else, or not feel like I need to be 38-year-old Adam. Enjoy being 18-year-old Adam, but enjoy being who the best version of 18-year-old Adam is. So that's what I mean when I say be my most authentic self as quickly as possible.
What's the number one book you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year?
Built to Sell. It's all about selling your company. I didn't do a good job of that with my first company. I didn't build it to sell from the start. And I recommend every entrepreneur reads it because it's something that I believe every single startup needs to do, is build their company to sell it. Whether you want to sell it or not, you got to build it to sell it from the start.
Great advice. What are you most curious about right now?
had this conversation a few days ago, so it's going to be kind of a weird one. It's just about aliens. Are they up in space or are they over in the ocean? So that's an interesting, obscure, probably little one right now, but I was having that conversation the other day, and it's, I think, a fun one to have.
What was the conclusion?
I think they're in the ocean. I mean, I think they're both, but I think they're in the ocean. Ocean's a scary place, man. I being in Hawaii, it's like you really get in the Hawaii, the ocean here is so beautiful for anyone that's been here. But you just realize just how big it is. And there's so little that we've explored. I forgot the exact amount to it. But I think it's just such a fascinating conversation of like, go all the way up and all the way down, and what we would find would probably scare the crap out of us, but it'd be interesting to know.
Very cool. I'm interested now. I'm curious now. Next question. Number one leadership or quote that you strive to live by?
I go back to the George Washington quote, perseverance and spirit have done wonders in all ages. And I think it's something that is an everyday battle.
It's a good quote. Last question. After all your success, helping all the people you've helped, building all the businesses you've built, all the cold emails you've sent, and all the big meetings you've landed for people and yourself, how do you stay centered in your values? And how do you stay encouraged to charge forward to reach new heights?
I'll start with the second one first. Encouraged to stay focused on where I want to go is all around. I love the opportunity to impact people. I love the opportunity to help people. And I know there's only so much I can help where I am right now. But I know the higher I get, the more capital I'm able to earn for myself, the more I become into my leadership skills, the more I'll be able to impact the world. So that's what keeps me going. And I forgot your first question. What was your first point?
The first question is just what are the habits maybe that you're practicing to stay centered in your values after all the success and at a young age and doing all the things you're doing? What's maybe the habit you practice every day or once a week or whatever it is to help you stay centered in your values?
I journal every day. So it's a very structured journal though. So part of what I do is I have people that I look up to that hold me accountable to do and think, am I staying brave? Am I being my most authentic self? Am I acting out of love? Am I being a leader? So there's about 13 different things that I look at. And then I have people that I look up to that I don't know, I've never met them in real life, that hold me accountable, quote unquote, every day to make sure I'm living up to that. And then I'll also have a free writing session where I talk about what do I love about what I did that day? What did I learn? What could I have improved? Just some additional thoughts. And then a question I'll ask myself at the end of every night as well. So that's an activity I've done now for the past few years. And I just do a journal through my Google Sheets.
Adam Rosen, it's been more than a pleasure these last 23 minutes to talk with you and to glean your wisdom and to hear how you help people create and preserve more wealth and also how to build a bootstrap startup as a nomad and tons of cool wisdom, man. This has been a great lightning round. I want to encourage you to keep using your gifts of persevering, being your authentic self, and learning from mistakes and just persevering and building that grit to help more people. For people who want to get in touch with you, could you remind them one last time what's the best place for them to find you?
Website is eocworks.com. And then if you want to follow on Instagram or LinkedIn, it's just at Adam I. Rosen. And email is adam@eoc.works.com if you want to get in touch.
Amazing. Thanks, Adam, for being on the show. I also want to thank our listeners for listening to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax referral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax referral strategy such as the deferred sales trust is an amazing way for you to exit, defer millions of tax. You can create and preserve more wealth. So you can start another company like maybe Adam Rosen's, where you can travel and you can help people with whatever things you're trying to solve, right? A cool way to do that is to do it all tax deferred versus having to start it from scratch or having to fund yourself or have it funded from a bank whose interest rates are pretty high right now. If you want to learn more about that, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. We also appreciate everyone listening on Expert CRE Secrets, brokers out there that want to level up. We appreciate everyone there. As well, check out the new book, Building a Tax-Free Exit Strategy, although we might change the title. It's coming out in about 30 days. We have Kevin Hinton from Shark Tank and a couple other really smart people in the book sharing my story about how to unlock your ideal wealth plan on selling assets of any kind. Again, so you can create and preserve more wealth. check out the book. Please rate, review, subscribe to this YouTube channel if you're listening to it, and or give us that 5-star rating on iTunes. That helps the algorithm share the amazingness that Adam just brought for us. Appreciate everyone out there.